Hi Pisces, welcome to your May 2019 Astro Update. It's Raina here, and this is a month that is, I would say, connecting you to family, possibly, because the Sun in Taurus is your third house, and the third house can be communication in general. So this can be people who are writers, people who do public speaking in some capacity, and also teaching and learning can be the third house, but especially with elementary grade teaching and learning that is not necessarily university, but more like getting some kind of training certification. But it also, and writing of all kinds, and even doing blogging, vlogging, internet-based communication. But it's also the house of siblings, brothers and sisters, in other words, and it can even be aunts and uncles and cousins. So if you have a lot of transits in this third house, this could be talking about having more to do with siblings than you normally do. So there might be some other things going on. And the third house can also be neighbors in your local area. So again, perhaps there is something along those lines. Now, as the month begins, we have the Sun in that third house, but we've got Mars in the fourth house. So this is where I'm going with that, because the fourth house can be your family of origin, and specifically your mother. It can be your childhood. Mars can be a planet of conflict. You could be having some kind of conflict with your mother. Obviously, this isn't going to be everyone, so please, sometimes I think people give a thumbs down because they think that you're saying that that's going to be true for everyone. No, it's not. And this is a general forecast anyway. This is not, specific to your particular natal chart. Actually, I did want to say, too, that even with a natal chart where somebody is giving you predictions, that's no guarantee either that something's going to happen. So just keep all of this in mind when you hear stuff like this. And Mars is the god of war, and this is why I'm mentioning conflict. But Mars can also just mean that there's a lot more activity going on. Mars in the fourth house can be your property. Maybe you're doing some kind of renovations. So I'm connecting the dots when I'm saying the Sun is in the third house. So there's this emphasis on the house of siblings, but also with the fourth house, this kind of confrontational energy. On the fourth, we have a new moon at 14 degrees of Taurus in that third house. And if let's say you grew up and you didn't have a good relationship with your mother, but you're a Pisces, so you just kind of maybe you were in denial over it, and now you're confronting her, and you're siding with your siblings, and you're kind of really, having a new appreciation for them because you all went through something. That could be what is going on. That could be one example. However, it could be that you have found a new place that you're going to live. And then maybe when there's a new moon in Gemini in June, that's going to be when you move to a new house. That could be a possibility. So it's possible with when the Sun is in the third house that you're getting to know your new area. And so the new moon in the third house could be a new training that you're embarking upon, new teaching, new classes. Yeah, I guess that could be like a form of training. A new day with your siblings, new agreements that you're going to respect each other more. Who knows? It could have something to do with a new book that you want to write and you're embarking upon that, or a YouTube channel that you're creating. On the 6th, Mercury goes into Taurus in that 3rd house, and that's really good for, starting a YouTube channel, something where you can communicate to others electronically, which is a medium that is so common today. That's why I bring it up. It isn't because, I'm on YouTube, so everybody should be on YouTube. I mean, I never thought I was going to do anything like this. And I never had any desire to do it until I came up with the idea of it. So it's only for people who really feel like they have something to say, that it really makes sense to go in that direction. But you may feel, Pisces, that you have something to say, and you can't wait to share it with others. And the 3rd house is the house that Mercury rules. So everything that is connected to that house, like contracts, that definitely could be a Mercury thing happening, where you are getting paperwork together for some reason. I think it could be for some of you a property transfer, a house, because you are going to have you're going to have a new moon in June that's going to be in that sector. I mean, there could be, you did have like a full moon that was in your 8th house back in, last month, I would say. Okay, so that would be with Libra. Yes. Actually, you had 2 of them. So there may be inheritance issues that are kind of playing out here, actually. And the contract may be where you are it could be like the will, the probate issues, and you're sharing it with your siblings and getting them to get on board, or hashing it out, so to speak. On the 15th, we have 2 transits to talk about. Venus goes into Taurus, again, the 3rd house, and Mars goes into Cancer, and that is your 5th house. Ooh la la, Sassoon, because that's going to be something connected with love and even recreational sex. I mean, I'm just keeping it real here. But Venus into Taurus. Taurus is a sensual sign, and it can also be about money. And the 3rd house could be like earning money through communication. So some kind of teaching gig, some kind of, I wouldn't even be surprised if there's some kind of like, what do they call that? Like an internship that some of you are engaged in, but you get paid for that. And it can be even like an online relationship, finding a romantic partner or potential romantic partner online. That could be that. It can be about really having harmony with your siblings or your neighbors or things like that. And Mars into Cancer in that 5th house. We have to talk about the fact that Cancer's a fellow water sign to you. So just by virtue of that, there is this kind of energy that surrounds the issue of nurturing and wanting that kind of home base that Cancer represents. Cancer represents the 4th house, and you've had energy in that 4th house. So Mars in Cancer in the 5th house can be, because the 5th house represents love, but it also represents recreational sex, and Mars is your sex drive, can be very like a lusty kind of a period for you. Also, the 5th house is sports, like competitive sports. This could be like a competitive a sports situation, or maybe you're just involved in some kind of, maybe it's even joining one of those, like as a hobby, some kind of a team, softball team or something along those lines that you're kind of doing for fun. The fifth house is fun. And so it's kind of funny because Mars is so aggressive and the fifth house is about pleasure. So being aggressive about pleasure is kind of funny to me. But I can also see somebody who's a Pisces person who's an artist. This can be really great for your passion about doing some kind of artistic project that you really put your all into, and you're just kind of driven by it. Mars is your drive, your ambition. So on the 18th, we have a full moon at 27 degrees of Scorpio. Again, another water sign. So forming another trine to you. And this is from the other end of things. This is the ninth house, and we're talking about the house of expansion. So this could even be for some of you graduating from college, and by the way, I'm not talking about necessarily a 22 or 23-year-old. You may be like a 40-year-old who's finally, graduated from college, and you spent years going to school and working, and this feels like this major chapter is closing on your life. This can be something coming to fruition, like maybe some kind of trip that you're going to take. All the pieces are coming together. When I'm talking about Mercury in the third house, I mean, that could be getting together some documents that you need. Who knows? Maybe some of you are going to be working, traveling abroad for whatever reason, and everything is kind of coming to that point. And it can also be ending a trip that you've been taking, or if you've been working overseas and that contract is over with, then that might be the time that is happening. It can be like a spiritual revelation of sorts, because the ninth house can be the God house, and having that sense of like aha moment about something related to your spirituality. Of course, a lot of Pisces people are naturally very connected to spirit. On the 21st, we have the Sun and Mercury going into Gemini. So the Sun and Mercury going into the fourth house. And that is going to put that emphasis on home and family. So you may be preparing your home that you live in right now for having a sale. Maybe you're going to sell it. Maybe that's why you were working on it, because you needed to repair it so that you could sell it. And I do feel that some Pisces people are going to be moving. Whether or not it's in May, I'm not sure, but maybe by June. So this can also just be having more communication with your mother, having your mind on your childhood for some reason, that being the focus on your life. If you're writing a book, you may be doing it autobiographical fiction, work of fiction. So you're kind of like making it something that is not necessarily going to be like 100% real, like a memoir, but more like taking some events and fictionalizing them, because it gives you ideas of what you want to do. And I'm sure there are a lot of Pisces that have a lot of who have had a colorful past, where your childhood was quite interesting, to say the least, if not maybe even harrowing, depending on how challenging it was. But anyway, that's what I have for you, Pisces. If you would like a personal reading where I'm actually pinpointing all of your stuff based on, I was going to say transits, but it's not all of your transits. It's like looking at the next year and some of the influences that are available that are going to be coming up for you, but also looking at your natal influences. Look at, where is your sun in your chart? I mean, your sun in Pisces, you might be a sun in Pisces. But what about if it's in the 12th house? That's Pisces house. Or what about if it's in the first house and you are very outgoing and you're not the typical Pisces? Who knows? I mean, that's what makes it even more exact. And it's fascinating because you can see all these influences that you didn't even know anything about if you've never looked at your chart before. So the link is below to my website, which is RainaMoonAstrology.com. Okay, Pisces, take care. Bye.